The POS Device Global Settings. These settings control the actual cash register at each location. It's broken up into multiple tabs. The first tab, Register Settings. The Safe Drop settings allow you to define how much cash you want in your drawer. You specify the minimum and maximum amount. When the cash in drawer exceeds the maximum amount, the cashier will be prompted to drop down to the minimum amount. You can specify the prompt interval and the number of times the cashier can skip the prompt before it forces them to drop. Our POS widgets. Widgets show on the left-hand side of the point-of-sale screen to allow cashiers quick access to various modules. These modules include the carton count, messages, customers, and to-do. Pay in and pay out default text. Here you can specify the text that appear when a cashier performs a pay in or pay out. While the cashier is free to type in whatever they want, this has some defaults so you can have consistency amongst your pay in and payouts. Miscellaneous POS settings. Disable weighted barcodes. A weighted barcode is commonly used in a meat market or any other scale environment. Log off cashier after a sale. When enabled, the cashier will automatically be logged off at the end of a transaction. Allow visual age verified. When enabled, a button will appear when scanning an age-sensitive product, prompting the cashier to perform an action. Generally, the action is scanning the license or entering a birth date. With this as enabled, there will also be a button that says, I have visually verified this customer, and the sale will continue. Return to main screen after a sale. When enabled, after the sale is tendered, the register returns to the main screen. Disable buy downs and promotions and price check. When enabled, no buy downs or promotions will appear on the price check screen. Do not pop drawer for $0 sales. When enabled, a $0 transaction such as buying an item and returning an item with the same value on the same transaction will not cause the drawer to open. Returns use current discount. When enabled, a return without a receipt will use the current discounts for any items being returned. Prompt for price on return. When enabled, the cashier will be prompted to enter the price during the return process for any return done without a receipt. Prompt for out-of-stock item. When enabled, if the cashier sells an item that the system thinks is not in inventory or has a negative quantity, the cashier will be prompted to ensure that they've actually scanned the correct barcode. Prompt for name when suspending sale. When enabled, in suspending a sale, the cashier will be prompted to entering a name for the suspended sale. Automatically partial tender gift cards. When enabled, any gift card with less than the value of the sale amount will partially tender during the sale process. For instance, if the sale is $5 and the customer presents a gift card with only $4 on it, the gift card will automatically be partially tendered with $4 and the cashier will prompt the customer for the additional $1. If it's disabled, it will simply tell the cashier that there's not enough money on the gift card to finish the transaction. Restrict lotto sales tenders. When enabled, you are allowed to define a set of tenders that are not allowed during lottery sales. Show minimum date and age. When enabled, you're allowed to specify dates that show on the register for alcohol, tobacco, vape, so it's kind of always in the cashier's face. Combine identical items. When enabled, any identical items scanned independently will automatically be rolled into one. For example, if you scan 2 cans of Coke that are exactly the same, it'll automatically roll them into one line item on the receipt. Require a description on open department sales. When enabled, any open department sale transaction will prompt the cashier to enter a description. Log off after a number of minutes of inactivity. If enabled, after a specified number of minutes of inactivity, the cashier will automatically be logged off. Auto cancel suspended sales. When enabled, any suspended sale will automatically be canceled when performing Register Z. Show message for sale license overrides. This will show a message informing the cashier that the override has to happen. Enable auto clock out. When enabled, the cashier will automatically be clocked out when performing Register Z. Enable POS clock out Z timer. When enabled, you can specify the time frame to allow the cashier to be automatically clocked out after a shift. Tax manufacturer coupons. When enabled, any manufacturer coupon will be taxed. Apply excise tax before buy-downs. When enabled, excise tax rules will be processed before any buy-downs. Tax buy-downs. When enabled, sales tax will be charged on buy-downs. Tax store coupons. When enabled, sales tax will be charged when applying store coupons. Allow over-tender store coupons. When enabled, a store coupon can be tendered for more than the amount of the sale. Do not keep age for suspended sales. If you suspend a sale where the age has already been verified, you can toggle this off to not remember that. Do not show $0 kit items. When enabled, any item within a kit, if the value of it is $0, will not be shown on the receipt. Prompt for notes on no sales. When enabled, the cashier will be prompted to enter a note on any no sale. You can also set up default notes that the cashier can choose from. Prompt for notes on cancels. When enabled, the cashier is prompted to enter in a note on a cancel sale. You can also choose default notes for the cashier to choose from. Prompt for notes on voids. When voiding an item, the cashier is prompted to enter notes. You can also set up default notes for the cashier to choose from. Price change text. Prompt the cashier for price change notes. You can also set up default ones for the cashier to choose from. Price checks show quantity on hand. When enabled, the current quantity on hand at that location will be shown on the price check screen. Price checks hide tax. When enabled, the tax is hidden on the price check screen. Price checks show cost. When enabled, the cost is shown on the price check screen. Prompt for item on manufacturer coupon. When enabled, and a manufacturer coupon is scanned, the cashier will be prompted on which item to apply it to. Subtract percent discount after system discount. When enabled, the percent discount will only be applied after the system discount. Require driver's license validation. When enabled and a driver's license is scanned, a screen is presented to the cashier showing them the information that we derive from the barcode. If that information doesn't match what's printed on the barcode, they have the option to reject the scan. Prompt for unread messages. When enabled, you can define the interval in minutes to prompt the cashier for any unread messages. Allow manager override on expired license. When enabled, if an expired license is scanned for age verification, a manager can override it and allow the system to use it. Force driver's license scan for age verification. When enabled, the cashier must scan a license to continue on an age-sensitive product. Force driver's license scan for age verify, allow override. When enabled, a manager can override the force of the license scan. Prioritize driver's license scan. When enabled, the prioritization is for the cashier to scan a license. They must press an additional button, manually enter, to manually enter in a birth date. Prompt for loyalty as first item scan. When enabled, as an item is added to the receipt, if there is not a loyalty customer on the sale, the cashier is prompted for loyalty information. Discount child when parent quantity is sold. When enabled, if enough children are sold on the transaction, we would then in turn transform that into a parent sale. Using cigarettes as an example, when 10 packs are sold, we would transform that into one carton sale. Do not allow system discounts with house accounts. When enabled, system discounts are inactive during a house account transaction. Do not allow system discounts for temporary price changes. When enabled, no system discounts will be applied to items that have a temporary price change. Allow a register Z window. When enabled, you can choose a window that specifies if the system is idle and a Z has not been performed while there are open transactions, perform a Z. Return forms. When enabled, the cashier is prompted to scan the customer's license or find the customer for all returns, allowing corporate to set up a blacklist of customers who are not allowed to return anymore. Excise tax. You can choose whether it's applied to price or cost. Shift Recon after a Z, you can choose to automatically go to the Shift Recon, prompt the cashier, or do nothing. The minimum label and age. When enabled, these show up on the register on the top left corner, allowing the cashier to constantly see the minimum age for specified things, such as alcohol, tobacco, vape. Allow sale of an item if price is 0. If disabled, no item can be sold with a 0 price. Disable dual manager requirements. If enabled, a manager will not be required to override the age validation for dual transactions. Price check disallow adding item to sale. If enabled, from the price check screen, the cashier will not be able to add the item to the sale. They must rescan it. Disallow item multiplier. If enabled, the item multiplier will be disabled in the price check, item search, and edit screens. Force description on failed UPC scans. When an item is scanned, if it's not found in the system, we produce a failed UPC message that's automatically sent to corporate. Toggling this enables requires the cashier to enter a description that will be appended to that message. Allow to update license number. When enabled, the cashier is allowed to edit the license number of a customer. Moving on to receipt settings. The top portion are 5 headers and footers. Here you can specify what you want to print at the top of the receipt and the bottom of the receipt at each location. We also allow tags such as store number and address, allowing you to customize each store's receipt. Print every receipt. When enabled, every receipt will be printed at the end of the transaction. If disabled, printing is determined based on the tender type. Print receipt on void sales. When enabled, all void transactions will be printed regardless of the print every receipt setting. Print use saved amount on receipt. When enabled, a use saved amount will be printed at the bottom of the customer's receipt, specifying how much they saved based on system discounts. Show product description on receipt. When enabled, the description will show on the receipt. Print receipt logo. When enabled, you can upload a bitmap image that will print at the top of each receipt. Print UPC number on the receipt. When enabled, the UPC number will print alongside the description on the receipt. Drawer must be closed after sale. When enabled, the cashier will not be able to begin a new sale while the drawer is open. Enable DVR feed. When enabled, our DVR integration is active, allowing you to specify where and what to send to DVRs. Number of columns. This defines the number of columns your receipt printer supports. Print receipt on no sale. When enabled, every no sale automatically prints a receipt regardless of the print every receipt setting. Print receipt on canceled sales. When enabled, any canceled sale will automatically be printed regardless of the print every receipt settings. Print number of items. When enabled, on the bottom of the receipt, a number of items will be printed. Print barcode. When enabled, a barcode will be printed on the bottom of the receipt. This barcode is commonly used for returns. Expand cashier receipt. When enabled, the cashier receipt window on the top left of the POS is expanded to the full column height. This allows the cashier to see more things on the receipt, however, it takes up space that you cannot use for buttons. Show ordering kit items. When enabled, kit items are shown on the receipt. Extra feed before cut. When enabled, you can define how many feeds are put into place before the receipt is cut by the receipt printer. Number of credit card receipts. Here you can toggle how many credit card receipts you want to print out at the end of the credit card transaction. Hide receipt number. When enabled, the receipt number is not printed on the receipt. Show excise taxes summary. When enabled, the excise tax is shown in a summarized view on the bottom of the receipt instead of beside each item. Credit card information. Here is where you define general information that applies to all locations. Specific credit card information, such as the merchant account number, the device type, etc., will be set up at each location. The general information includes things such as what are we printing on the second credit card receipt. You can disable that receipt from printing the headers, the item details, the footers, the age verifications, the barcodes, etc. Moving on, do not prompt automatically for card swipe. When enabled, this allows a delay for the cashier to specify when to prompt the terminal to begin the swipe process. Do not show manual entry button on credit card auth. When enabled, the manual entry will be disabled during credit card authorization, requiring a swipe or an insertion of the card. Require minimum sell amount. When enabled, you can specify the minimum sell amount before credit cards are to be allowed. Require manager override. If this is enabled, a manager can override the minimum sell amount. No signature needed on sales. When this is enabled, you can specify a dollar value that does not require a signature. Full disable of the manual entry. When enabled, this disables the manual entry in both the point of sale and the credit card terminal. Disallow partial authorizations. When enabled, we attempt to disallow partial authorizations. However, processor rules will override our rules. A partial authorization would be we're requesting $5, however the card only can be approved for $3. Apply credit card fee. When enabled, you can apply a credit card fee of either a flat or a percentage of the transaction. You would define the fee amount and fee department. Enable pre-authorization. When enabled, pre-authorization will be set using the specified amount. You can also additionally specify whether or not we're automatically adding a tip when closing, and tips are enabled. If we're auto adding a tip, you can specify the tip type and value. Allow phone number lookup. When enabled, we can prompt the customer to enter the phone number on the credit card terminal for loyalty lookup. Disable confirm amount. When enabled, the customer will not be required to confirm the amount before continuing the credit card transaction. Allow debit cashback. When enabled, the customer can choose whether or not to have cash coming back to them on a debit transaction. Open the cash drawer. When enabled, the cash drawer will open at the end of a credit card transaction. Manager override on the disabling. When enabled, a manager can override the manual entry setting. Add credit card fee after tax. When enabled, if you're using a credit card fee, these fees can be applied after the tax. Loyalty settings. The first setting, you can specify what the scan ID starts with. If you're using a barcoded card, generally the first part of the barcode is the same for all your cards, and this is where you would specify what that barcode prefix is. Auto open customer profile menu. When enabled, after looking up a loyalty customer, their profile menu would automatically appear. Allow check-in without membership. When enabled, this allows customers to check in without being a member. Prompt for referral code. When enabled, the cashier will be prompted to enter a referral code when adding a customer. The referral code is used to have a person join your team. Prompt loyalty coupon usage when available. If enabled, after the customer is added to the transaction, it will tell them if they have any unused loyalty coupons. Scan ID length. This refers to the length of the barcode of your loyalty cards. Prompt for reason customer not on sale. When enabled, if a sales transaction occurs without a loyalty customer, the cashier will be prompted to enter a reason why they're not a loyalty customer. Post loyalty in background. When enabled, after a loyalty transaction occurs, the cashier is allowed to return to the POS screen immediately and not wait for the transaction to process on the loyalty server. Prompt for phone. When enabled and adding a loyalty account, the cashier will be prompted for the phone number. Auto check-in when scanning. If enabled, the customer will automatically be checked in whenever they're scanned. Prompt to add loyal and self customer during uplift. When enabled and an uplift is presented and a customer is not on the sale, the cashier is prompted to add the customer to loyalty. Allow loyalty lookup on license scan. When enabled and a license scan occurs due to an age validation event, we can automatically look that person up as a loyalty customer using their license number. Reconciliation settings. These settings define how the shift, daily, and lottery recon act. Lottery sort direction. Descending or ascending. This defines whether your lottery tickets are 0 to 100 or 100 to 0. Get lottery payouts from. Here you can choose whether or not you're using a department or a payout account. The default sort for lottery games. Are we using bin number or game number? Auto-populate lottery recon safe. If enabled, the recon safe is automatically populated and the cashier only enters what's different. Deduct change bank from total deposit. If enabled, the change bank is deducted from the total deposit on a daily recon. Print blind. If enabled, all shift and daily recons are printed blind. Daily recon include option. Here you can choose whether or not to include today's shift, never include today's shift, or prompt when starting a recon. Hard code starting till. If enabled, the starting till value entered here will always be used. Other settings. Here we define general other settings that don't really fit anywhere else. Print chit on clock in, clock out. When enabled, a small chit will be printed on the receipt printer whenever a cashier clocks in or clocks out. Register Z is blind. If enabled, the Z at all locations will be blind when the cashier performs it and not show any register totals. Reg Z show department group. If enabled, the department group sales will show on the register Z. Reg Z force close suspended sales. If enabled, the cashier must close suspended sales before performing register Z. Verify checks. Here you can choose whether or not you want to use positive, negative, or no check verification. Positive check verification means that I will take checks from everybody except this list of people. Negative check verification is the opposite. We will take checks from everybody except this list of people. House account vendors. Here's where you can choose which vendors your house accounts are assigned to. Print house account invoices. Here you can choose how to print house account invoices, whether it's automatic or manual. Also, when printing, the quantity to be printed. The tare weight is where you would define the default tare for all weighted scaled transactions. Number of days to keep live receipts. Here's where you specify how many days of receipts the cashier is presented with by default. Number of days to archive. This is where you define how many days of receipts you want kept in the file system. Detailed logging. If enabled, a detailed debug log will be turned on at the location. Disable time clock. If enabled, the time clock will be disabled. Force time clock before using POS. If enabled, the cashier must clock in before using the point of sale. Force off on all time clock entries. If enabled, the cashier must verify themselves either via biometrics or a user password combination on all time clock entries. Prompt on exit. If enabled, the cashier will be prompted to confirm they want to exit. Clock out on exit POS. If enabled, the cashier exits the POS while being clocked in, it will automatically clock them out. Force a starting till. If enabled, the cashier must enter a starting till before beginning their shift. Red Z show department. If enabled, department sales will be shown on the Red Z printout. Use recon buckets in Red Z. If enabled, the tender recon buckets will be shown on the Z. Enable time clock break. When enabled, breaks will be allowed to be entered in the time clock. Gift card settings. Allow manual gift card entry. When enabled, the cashier is allowed to manually type in a gift card number. If disabled, they must scan or swipe the gift card. Print gift card on receipt printer. When enabled, if you do not have a gift card that's swiped or scanned, you can have it automatically print on the receipt printer. Customer lookup settings. The default search type can be phone number, last name, email address, license number, or ID. This is the default search type that the cashier is presented with when manually looking up a customer. POS sales completed sounds. Here you can define a sound to play at the end of a transaction. uplift settings. You can enable uplifts for the POS and also enable item images on the uplift font. By default, all POS settings will apply to all locations. If you need to override a setting at an individual location, you can do that from the location screen. Once here, choose the location you wish to override a setting at, and choose Modify that location. Once in the Details screen, click Manage POS Settings. From here, choose the setting you wish to override and choose the override value. Once saved, that location will have an overridden setting.